Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today in this video I'm going to show you the difference between an old vacuum and a newer vacuum and what they both have in common and what is different about them. So let's start off with the Shark Navigator right here. As you can see, it's a bagless vacuum cleaner, and you probably say that Shark vacuums are probably one of the best vacuum cleaners that were ever made, because a lot of people do say they like how it picks up all the pet hair and debris and all that stuff. Well, that's true that it does that, but there is one thing though that it actually isn't doing really well with, though: the suction power. Well, you're probably wondering what I mean is because here's the thing: this vacuum is not center suction cleaning, just like this Hoover convertible right here. What that means is that, if you look, right here, under the filter, this is where the motor is of the Shark Navigator right here. And when the vacuum operates, the suction will come from the motor, and it goes all the way from this tube all the way to over here. Well, except it's going the other way to suck things up. Now you see that the tube is right here on the edge of the nozzle. All the suction power is really over here and not over here on this part of the Shark vacuum. That's where a lot of debris can be missed, because there's no suction over here to actually pull up all that debris, because most of it will just go right here because of the tube being right here. With the Hoover convertible, this vacuum is actually what they call, I think they call them center suction or straight, I don't know, something like the suction is just, in between the machine. And what this does, we'll see underneath it, as you can see, this part is a little different from the Shark Navigator. The motor is actually right here. Well, that's the suction fan right there, and you probably noticed that the suction fan is actually much closer to the carpet. And with that part, this whole area right here is actually, all suction, because with this nozzle or plate on this part of the vacuum, it will make more suction power and actually get all the debris that's in its path, instead of just how the Shark Navigator does it, just by having suction over here, and most of the debris gets picked up here and not over here. And that's a bad thing about these newer vacuums, because they don't make them like they did back then with vacuums like the Hoover convertible, when their suction power was actually in the center of the cleaner, which is where the motor is right here. Because when this vacuum operates, suction comes all the way in this area to right up here, pass into the bag, and then the dirt's trapped. But with the Shark Navigator, the Shark can still pick up plenty of debris, but not as much as the Hoover convertible, because the Hoover convertible has a better suction power operation, and it's got a better beater bar on it too, because this brush roller actually has not just brushes, but beaters on it that are like metal waves or whatever you want to call it. And with this much power and suction, it can easily groom the carpet so well that it can make even better cleaning marks than a newer vacuum does, such as the Shark vacuum. But even some newer vacuums do have center suction too, still nowadays, but not as much as they did in the past. Because back then, I guess pretty much every vacuum had center suction. Even canister vacuums had that stuff too. But the ones that we have nowadays, like the Shark, for example, most vacuums have suction more on the side more than the center. And some vacuums that are made with center suction are usually the more expensive ones, such as Kirby vacuums, or certain Hoovers or other makes. Sometimes they will actually have suction inside the center, which will have better performance. But even though their brush rollers are not how they were as the ones on this old vacuum, like the Hoover convertible. Another thing too is that newer vacuums are plastic these days. Unlike this one is like all chrome underneath. And, you know, with a chrome machine like this, it won't break so easily. But something like this vacuum is completely made of plastic. You drop it and then it could malfunction. And, you know, because just because a new device is made, that doesn't mean it's actually made to do better. A lot of people think newer vacuums are better, but in reality, most of them are not. Because of the way they're made, like how they perform and the material that they're made out of. And here's another thing. Like, now even though some people also choose vacuums that actually have like filters that can seal off the dirt from blowing out of the machine when the machine is actually, you know, picking up debris. Even though most vacuums do stop dirt from flying out of their motors when, you know, you're using the machines, but that doesn't mean it's going to completely stop dust or debris from falling out of the machine, or flying out, sorry. It still can fly out no matter how well it's sealed up. Even these vacuums, like this one, like it has no filters at all, but the only way that it stops the dirt from flying out is the bag itself, which is right in here. Now, even though this bag is made of paper, but it still can pretty much seal the dirt. And this is the only part you have to replace on your vacuum to maintain, like, the cleaning performance. And with these old vacuums, back then, they hardly any of them had filters. And when one filter is clogged or dirty, the whole vacuum loses suction power, other than just a full bag. But with the Shark Navigator, or any vacuum with filters, like this vacuum has more than one filter. There's one here, these ones right here that go under the machine, and there's also one right in there. So and like I said before, if even one filter is clogged or whatever, then the vacuum loses suction power, like much too fast. And, you know, and it will do a poor performance. But even these old vacuums can still lose suction too, but probably not as much as these ones do, especially because newer vacuums have too many filters to maintain. But with this vacuum, mostly just worry about getting the belt replaced if needed, and the brush roller, and the bag. And, you know, also just be careful of what you pick up. Like, don't pick up anything that's powder, such as like carpet freshener, because that stuff is powdery, and that stuff can actually clog any machine, any vacuum you have. Or like just actual baby powder or paste. That stuff can clog any vacuum, which is not a good choice to make. And then you would have to clean out the machine too often too, or replace the bags. So whenever, like, if you're trying to look for a good vacuum, I mean, I would suggest if you prefer a newer vacuum and you want like something to really deep clean, you're better off looking for one that has center suction in it, because those ones usually work the best. If you like old vacuums, then, well, pretty much any of these old vacuums can, you know, do one of the best performances. But just like some of the newer ones, you know, there are, you know, some vacuums that, you know, can even pretty much be just as good as the older vacuums, but depends on how they're made. You know, like if you actually see a performance on like other YouTube videos, or maybe like, you know, like maybe at a vacuum store or something, you'll see what I'm talking about, like how they usually can pick up better than others can. But also because older machines, like, were made better back then because they didn't break as easy because of the material that they're made out of. But with these ones can break with if you drop them, or like, I don't know, like maybe like, just hitting them for no reason or whatever, or, tipping it, then, something like this breaks easily, and then you would have to replace it, especially if there's no replaceable parts. But something like this, usually they don't really break so easily. So, but even though like this Hoover convertible has like a plastic hood on it, which is right here, and so is the lens, it's plastic as well too, but I'm sure this part is replaceable. Well, pretty much any vacuum part can be replaced, I suppose. But still, in my opinion, old vacuums like this can actually pick up more debris better than the newer vacuums that we have today. And, just because they're old, that doesn't mean they're unreliable and they don't work as well. Whether you have a newer machine or not, best thing to do is just, try to, keep maintaining their suction power by cleaning their filters or replace them if you have to. And also, just make sure the parts are all good, like the belts, brush roller, and, the bags and all that. Then the vacuums should be fine. But another thing you should also know is that you probably noticed in this video too, is that one of them is bagless and the other one is bagged. Now, another thing you should also know is that both bagged and bagless vacuums are different. But let's start with the Shark. The Shark is a bagless vacuum, and with no bags to buy, you can see that there's debris in there, and you can easily empty it out just by pushing this button at the bottom when you put it over the garbage. But the bad thing about that, though, is that when you release the debris flies in the air again. And it's also bad for people with asthma and other lung problems and all that. And also, it can, just get on your floor, your clothes, anything like that. But with a bagged vacuum, you just toss it away. And hardly any debris will fly out. Well, actually, pretty much no debris at all. It depends on, how you are holding the bag. You just gotta be careful not to, move the bag so much, because the hole where the dirt goes into the bag, when the vacuum goes on, sometimes a dust cloud can fly out, but it won't, make the debris actually, fall out, just like a bagless vacuum does. And bagged vacuums are better for people with asthma, and bagged vacuums usually can hold more than a bagless vacuum can. But, just like any bagged vacuum, you should never overflow the bag. You have to, check it to make sure it's not too full. Because if you overdo it, the bag will rip. And then the debris will just, fly everywhere or get all over the floor. And then you have asthma, then it's going to trigger it. And here's another thing that both vacuums can do, though. Like any type of vacuum, whether it's new or old, they both can actually, pick up germs and, dust and all that stuff that does trigger asthma. So, but you need to make sure you have the right type, though. I know it's kind of hard to choose which one is better, but if you want my suggestion, if you want, bagged vacuums, such as this one, well, there's even some newer vacuums that still have bags, but be sure to, get a center suction vacuum cleaner with a bag in it, especially if you have bad lungs, because these ones can really, trap the dirt better and won't fly out just like a bagless vacuum does. And another thing, too, with bagged vacuums, you don't have to worry about replacing filters. Well, at least not as much as a bagless vacuum does. But some bagged vacuums have no filters at all, it's just the bag to replace. But vacuums like the Shark vacuum, like I said a little while ago, if one filter is clogged or damaged or whatever, the vacuum loses suction power, and it costs more money to replace so many filters at once, more than just doing this, which you don't want. I mean, unless if you're okay with spending a lot of money to get something fixed, but still, in my opinion, I always like the older vacuums better, because their designs are better, because they last forever, as long as you actually take care of them, that is. But the newer ones, I still would get newer ones, especially in my collection, and use them. But still, I prefer the old ones, especially if you really want a deep cleaning. Well, I hope everyone liked this. I hope this video was really helpful to everyone. And if you have any questions on this video, please comment on my YouTube channel. And please don't forget to subscribe. And please make sure they're polite answers or opinions and all that. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you. Bye.